Notice of public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a workshop, an executive session, and regular meeting on Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2009, at 5:25 p.m., 5:45 p.m., and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Workshop item A, presentation and discussion regarding municipal separate storm sewer permit requirements and cooperative components within the stormwater management program.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like Mr. Joey Hinojosa will do this presentation for us on the stormwater.
Microphone.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for this time. In the interest of time, I'll go through this presentation rather briefly, but you're welcome to stop me at any time with any questions. In short, later on in the agenda, we're going to have an item calling for an interlocal agreement with Texas A&M at Kingsville, and representing the institution is Mr. Javier Guerrero. He's the liaison that's been working with Brownsville and several cities within the Rio Grande Valley to establish a task force whereby we've created a program and a compliance schedule to deal with the new stormwater rules affecting every city within the valley. Any city with a population of at least 10,000 is affected by these new rules. And the university has been instrumental to get us on the ground, up and running regarding compliance and scheduling toward that effort. This is just the first page of the interlocal. We'll work with it later on in the agenda. There is a monetary fee or dues that we're paying into the program, and it's less than $20,000. But part of this compliance effort also calls for a memorandum of understanding with the local school district, and within the verbiage of that school district of that memorandum of understanding is the requirement for an interlocal agreement established with this entity, and therefore I wanted to bring it before the board. We can go on to the next slide if you want. If you could just turn those clockwise.
She's working on it.
And just briefly, within that permit are 6 minimum control measures and 1 optional measure. And the one that we're really involved in now at this stage of the permit is outreach and education. And part of that requires the classroom presentations. And that's why we need to go ahead and establish that memorandum of understanding with the local school district. Mr. Guerrero, if you want to come up here for a second. The university has worked with several cities already to do these classroom presentations. And briefly, I'll just let them mention a couple of things about those presentations.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having us. What we do at the school district is try and promote science and engineering, of course, but we try and get the school, which is a great resource for the city, to outreach your community. And what we've been doing across the valley from Brownsville all the way to La Jolla is actually going into the classroom with our professionals, geologists, engineers, scientists, and telling them, the kids and teachers alike, about stormwater runoff pollution awareness. We talk to them about the Laguna Madre, the Arroyo Colorado, the Rio Grande River, composting, solid waste, household hazardous waste, everything and anything having to do with stormwater pollution activities. And we're always asked by council, in some respects, what's in it for us. We the university try and do several things. The Brownsville has been part of our coalition since 2002. Every year we execute this interlocal. And over the years, we've had conferences, seminars, workshops. We've been training your staff, training members of your community, industry, businesses, commercial, residents. And this year, we've added a new opportunity. You know, we've added stipends for teachers. We've set aside $100,000 of A&M money, and this summer, we're going to bring 20 teachers from the Rio Grande Valley up there and show them how to do research, how to incorporate this mission into their lesson plan, into their curriculum, and we're going to give them $5,000 stipends. Another thing, we're also going to offer 8 four-year scholarships to our College of Engineering to students in the Rio Grande Valley. Again, this is going to be part of this program, so if a Brownsville kid is selected, we're hoping that one of you all do the presentation at commencements or at the awards assembly. And we're going to try and see if we can get 4 here in Cameron County and 4 in Hidalgo, because we're only going to allow school districts that partner with you all eligible for these stipends and scholarships. So we have a huge, I mean, we could go on for, since 2002, we've done a lot of things. But in a nutshell, we're very committed to this region. And Joe's been the chair of the task force, and in other words, his peers from the Valley have elected him the chair of the task force since 2005, and he's worked real closely with our university, the TCEQ, the EPA, so it's given us an edge in tweaking the regulations, because we were instrumental in doing so. And this whole project has culminated with the issuance of a permit, which was issued in December by the state to Brownsville to, in essence, regulate your stormwater, which you do already in some respects, but this is more stormwater pollution prevention awareness. So I have.
Very good. Thank you, Harvey. That's pretty much the gist of the program. If you'd care to go through quickly the rest of the elements, just so you'll know, there's other elements to this permit. There's outreach education. If you want to go into the next slide. Public participation like stenciling or resaca cleanups. Illicit discharge and detection and elimination, that pretty well speaks for itself. Obviously, we don't want polluters going out there and dumping oil into our resacas, in the most extreme example. And I think we've got a really responsible public, but it doesn't hurt to go ahead and monitor that. Construction, obviously runoff. One of the main pollutants that is impacting our resacas is runoff, sediment runoff from streets and construction sites. Our resacas are filling in, and by so doing, they're impacting our drainage capabilities and our reservoir capacity. So we've got to monitor that, and work with our public and our citizens to take care of that resource. Post-construction, once again, the landscape ordinance that we have in place is part of that effort that we already have in place, but we need to go ahead and document it as such.
Mr. Hinojosa?
Yes.
One of my questions is, when the gentleman spoke of the educational outreach, activities that are going to be ongoing, and all the direct classroom student to presenter, is there anything on video that we could use? Because I don't know how many presentations they plan to make. You consider in Brownsville you have five high schools. Each high school has 2,000-3,000 students. That's a lot of classes. I don't know what the plan or the mechanism is to reach each and every one of those. But utilizing Channel 12, if they had the video, well, then that could be outreach. That could be shown once a month or however, just so that it's targeting people and students, families. However, I don't know if that's something, if the video's in place to maybe do that to further the outreach.
We are we do have videos, presentations of some of the other classroom presentations in other cities. We'll definitely be doing that for those presentations within the district. And that conveyance would be great for the rest of the public. So definitely, yes, sir. Thank you. Housekeeping, making sure that our fleet maintenance is up to standard, so we don't have trucks leaking oil on the street. Make sure we sweep up after ourselves and spills and what have you. That's housekeeping. The last optional minimum control measure is where we monitor our own construction projects under our own umbrella, so we don't have to get an individual permit for each construction site. So that's the 7th element that we've added to our permit. If you want to go through you can go ahead and turn that. That's a memorandum of understanding that we'll present later on to the university. It's no monetary issue with the district. We're just promising that we'll do the presentations, that they obviously have oversight as to the material and the contents. And that's pretty much the gist of that MOU. You can go on to the next one. Skip through the next two. Of course, I'll be happy to entertain any questions regarding the MOU. You can go on to the next. And these are a series of slides. I won't go through them. There's like 20 of them. But in effect, it tells you what the program is. I've made this presentation at a few other meetings at the island. If you want to cursor through those real quick. That's a task force that we're a part of. Those are, once again, the 6 minimum control measures that we spoke of. And part of that is the notice of intent. That was a precursor to the actual permit that we received. Go on. Some of the goals that we're obviously hoping to accomplish. You can go on to the next one. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is protect our surface waters, whether they're resacas, whether they're the arroyo or the river. All these are important, obviously, to our sustainability. And even though these are new rules and regulations we all have to deal with, at the end of the day, we end up benefiting from that stewardship and the future generations. That's one example of some of the outreach that we've done in the past. And that's a notice of intent. I wanted to get one more slide. Go ahead to the next one. And we came up with an acronym just to kind of get a mindset and kind of get our heads around this program. And RESACA would be a fitting acronym here. We have to recognize our resources. We have to engage the public, obviously. We have to develop a sense of stewardship for our resources, and develop an alliance with our stakeholders, whether they're the citizens, whether they're construction site managers, store owners, what have you. And at the end of the day, we want to get community commitment. Otherwise, this isn't going to happen. And even though this is a big program, we have 5 years to go ahead and engage and implement the whole program, but it has to start, each year we have to show where we made some steps, where we've accomplished some set of objectives, and that's part of that plan that we submitted to the state. And I think that's the rest of the slides are kind of background for all of that. If you have any questions, though, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Jonas, you mentioned 20,000. Where does that go towards again?
The interlocal agreement, that's part of the dues that we're paying to the task force, so they can help us with the actual implementation of the program, and then the reporting. We have to conduct a yearly report, and we're also going ahead and engaging the task force to do some training for our staff and contractors as well. We hope to go ahead and bring them to the table and give them some outreach and education.
And that's going to be over a 12-month period, or
yes,
2-year period, 3-year period?
A 12-month period, a year period. Go ahead. And that's some of the presentations that we've done in the past with our staff. You can go to the next one. There's obviously some of the outreach that we have to do with our students, and they're sponges. They really soak this up, and it really makes an impact with them, and obviously when they get back to their households. Go to the next. And that's pretty much the presentation. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I missed all. Can you start over?
Gladly, anytime. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas.
Thank you, sir.
Next item.
Discussion regarding the Greater Brownsville Incentive Corporation on economic development projects.
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Tony Campos. I'm Vice Chair for the GBIC. And what we're going to do here tonight is give you a presentation on some of our economic development projects going on. The CEO for BEDC is Jason Hills, and he's going to take from here.
Mayor, City Commissioners, good afternoon. We have a brief presentation for you this afternoon. As Mr. Campos mentioned, to brief you on some of the projects that's going on through GBIC. But to start off, who's controlling the slides? Okay.
There it is.
What we'd like to cover today is where GBIC is today with its budget, the North Brownsville Industrial Park, projects in the pipeline, and how the word is getting out on Brownsville. The GBIC budget as it stands today has, here's just a quick review of where the 4A sales tax are for 4A. So far this year, it's $1.4 million. Next slide. This is the fund balance starting as unaudited as of 10/1/08, and this is as of January 31st, 09. You'll see that we have a total fund balance of $21,000. Next slide. But you'll see that the GBIC fund balance takes into consideration a certificate of obligation that the City Commission issued for work to be completed at the Brownsville International Airport to go towards hangars, parking lots, livestock area relocation, etc. This obligation, $8.5 million, has already been set aside to pay for the projects. So that's included in that fund balance.
Mr. Jason,
Yes, sir.
this is the side, I think, the 20 million grants that we're getting.
I'm sorry?
This is besides the $20 million worth of grants we will take from the federal government for the airport.
This is different from those grants, yes. This is,
But this money, was this money used to leverage to get those grants?
no, sir. No, sir. Okay. Next slide. Where the funds are going, how GBIC budgets its money. They budget percentage of the revenues coming in. 32% of revenues go towards company incentive projects. 28% go target infrastructure projects. And 9% is reserved for community job-based projects. As for a legislation, GBIC can support business airport facilities like they're doing today at the Brownsville Airport, port-related facilities, infrastructures to assist retail and commercial projects, and business-related sewer, utilities, and site improvements. The GBIC is in the process of developing their North Brownsville Industrial Park, which is located on the north side of town on Paredes Line Road. Next slide. This is a 73-acre planned development. This land was received back from Titan in a settlement with GBIC. The GBIC is moving forward in developing that. Its anticipated infrastructure cost to be $2.5 million. The park is being subdivided into 10, 5, and 2.5 acres tracts. We already have one client already committed to buy 10 acres, and we'll start construction as soon as GBIC starts construction on the park for a 100,000 square foot building, employing 80 people and paying $14 an hour jobs. This company will help us attract other companies in the same industry. They're in the food industry, food preparation, food processing industry.
Mr. Ellis,
Yes, sir.
of course, this is not, GBIC is not taking over the Titan plant facility, right?
No, sir.
It's still Titan's.
Titan owns that building outright. Okay?
We were able to get that land because of the efforts of Attorney Ernesto Gomez, wasn't that?
That is
that
correct. He was the driving force behind that, Mr. Garza.
Thank you.
So Jason, we don't get the facility, but we get the land. The land is
You
ours.
get 73 acres back,
Okay,
which will now turn into revenue-producing
Right.
tracts of land.
so we get to do what we want with those 73 acres.
Right, sir. Yes, sir.
The proposed development that's supposed to go in there, that won't offset any current food processing. For example, CPAC, that's
Oh, no,
been
no,
here
no.
forever.
Actually, they
This is
could-
not going to offset anything else, correct?
Actually, they can supply CPAC.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
This North Brownsville Industrial Park, is that where you're gonna put your strengths in and bring companies to go to this industrial park? Or are you still gonna try to put them at the Port of Brownsville?
This is going to be the cornerstone of what GBIC wants to do moving into the future.
Were we able to meet with the Port of Brownsville and see if we could negotiate something where if the city of Brownsville spent all their money in attracting a business for the Port of Brownsville, that would be in our best interest to get some of that sales tax or property tax at the Port of Brownsville. As it is right now, when we put a business over there, all we get out of it is we hope that they hire somebody from Brownsville. There's no guarantees, no nothing. If this North Brownsville Industrial Park, wouldn't it be in GBIC's and Brownsville's best interest to attract businesses for this industrial park so we get the,
That's the whole
and not
reason.
put it in another taxing entity.
That's the reason behind developing this park. As you see, there's also plans to develop another park as well, to be able to attract industries to Brownsville into the territory that Brownsville controls, to get the double benefit, the jobs and the property tax off that project. And I'll answer your question in terms of the port in a few moments, because we have a project that we're working. And I will share with you how we're trying to make sure that Brownsville's interest is protected on that project.
Mr. Hills,
Yes, sir.
I also don't want to see us ignore the fact that the Port of Brownsville is an asset to the city of Brownsville. Now, should a company be best suited for the Port of Brownsville, we need to make sure we don't ignore those needs, because I'd rather them come to the Port of Brownsville than go to Port of Harlingen, okay? And when McAllen used to use the Port of Brownsville in its promotion as their port, I don't want to ignore it as an asset of the city of Brownsville, because the creation of jobs do benefit the city, and in some way does benefit the general fund of the city of Brownsville through property taxes, sales taxes, employment reduction.
House tax, how property tax?
People that work at the Port of Brownsville buy homes in the city of Brownsville, they pay taxes. The thing is to keep our unemployment rate down and use all the assets available to us, including the Port of Brownsville, the airport, the industrial parks, and everything. I mean, this is a package deal, and if a company's best suited for the Port of Brownsville, I'd rather see them go to the Port of Brownsville than go to the Port of Harlingen.
As you mentioned, the airport, the port, they're all key economic drivers for the community. But we're very careful to work with the port, and I'll explain a project we're working on in a moment, how, like I said, we're trying to make sure we protect the interests of the city of Brownsville as we move forward with that project. Okay? This particular industrial park, North Brownsville Industrial Park, at the last GBIC board meeting, the board approved 2 Brownsville companies to complete the infrastructure work, Cupco and G&T Paving, to do the work for infrastructure. Also, we've been notified by Congressman Ortiz's office that the park will receive $196,541 from omnibus bill that will go towards the infrastructure on that park. And we hope to start breaking ground sometime in April. Right now, GBIC is in the process of trying to engage a project manager to run the project to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for, that the project is done accordingly to the specifications and done in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Okay. Once that park is done, GBIC owns other tracts of land on the north side of town along 511 to develop what's called Industrial Park Number 2. And that's a 120-acre planned development. Right now, infrastructure costs will be about $4.5 million. We will go out and seek federal funds to help us with that. And once again, it will be subdivided in 5 and 10-acre tracts. And if things go well, sometime 2010, 2011, possibly could break ground on that site. As we move forward, when we work with projects, many times we're required to sign confidentiality agreements with them. And that's because the clients asked us to protect their interests, whether they're a publicly traded company, they're going through a union issue where they have to notify their employees that they're going to relocate, or it's because of competition. And also, it keeps neighboring communities from trying to jump in on a project. And usually when we're working projects, we work through site selectors, brokers, business consultants, and management teams. Okay? Projects in the pipeline. Right now we have Project Seed, which will construct a new facility in Brownsville. It's part of the food industry as well. They will not be at the industrial park. They already have other land they purchased in the community. They create 15 to 25 jobs at $10 an hour. They're not seeking incentives. Project Dynamic is seeking to lease space from the airport, the former Eagle complex. It's a metal stamping operation, and they will create 30 jobs immediately above, paying above $10 an hour. This is a very important project that we've been shortlisted. It's called Project Columbus. We've been shortlisted. Brownsville is the only site in Texas that's being considered this time. It's in the heavy manufacturing industry. It goes along with the A cluster has been identified by Imagine Brownsville Heavy Industry. The planned investment is $1.5 billion. That's $1 billion. To construct this facility, it'll take 30 months. After that, it'll take 20 months to ramp up the facility. The client will commit to 730 direct jobs. During construction, it will create about 1,500 jobs. And the client will commit to $80,000 a year wages per employee with benefits. Okay, next slide. The client has been drawn to the area by the logistics offered to Port of Brownsville. It is a heavy electrical consumer. We are working with a PUB, with Mr. John Brusiak. We've given the client a rate proposal. We are working very closely to ensure that the city sees a benefit not only from the job creation, but from property taxes as well. The property that we're working on is in close proximity to the Port of Brownsville. It's not within the port property. It will be land that is it's within the ETJ of Brownsville today. If that site does not work, we have other sites identified within the port. We've had discussions with the port director about how we can move that project together forward, where the city of Brownsville would get a benefit from that, where they could possibly, that particular site could be brought back in or brought into the city of Brownsville. So those are the things that we're trying to make sure happens, Mr. Atkinson, to make sure that we get the full benefits of that project, especially a project this size. Can you imagine the property taxes on a project like this, that would mean to the city of Brownsville? Okay. Also, we have had several meetings with the governor's office. When we were in Austin several weeks ago for Brownsville Day, that's when we were notified that we were shortlisted. And we had a meeting that afternoon with the governor's office for economic development. They have pledged their support to this project. And right now, we're expecting to be in Austin next Tuesday to meet the governor and to talk about this project, make sure that we get his full support. And we're going after enterprise fund money for this. We're talking in terms of $20–30 million that we're going to seek from the governor's office for this. Okay.
Good.
Getting the word out. I mentioned the governor's office. We work very closely with the governor's office. We're members of what's called Texas One. That's the equivalent of GBIC at the state level. Y'all are familiar with Mr. Nick Sarafi. He is the chairman of Texas One this year and next year, and that helps open a tremendous amount of doors for us. As you can see, we were at an event with him earlier this year. Mr. Gallegos, our chairman, has been involved with Texas One events up in Austin. We travel with him to Detroit, doing the SAE conference. We'll be doing the Bio Show in Atlanta. We've done numerous trade missions in Mexico City with the governor, and we do a lot of business recruitment trips throughout the United States on a bi-monthly basis, going to New York City,